Well, hello, Benjies, and welcome to the BingeWorthy podcast, part of the Geekish Network. My name is Johnny Randolph, or you can just call me Randy, and we have a full house in here tonight. Starting off, we got the lovely Miss Courtney Scott, right? Say hello to the people, Courtney.
Hello, hello.
All right, we got Chuck. Chuck, let them know who you are, man.
What it do?
And Ricard, tell the people who you are, sir.
Hello, Puppet.
And this guy here, he's no stranger to the BingeWorthy podcast. He's one of the founding members. Centel, say what's up to the people, man.
Oh, Sophia home now. Sophia home now. What's good, everybody?
Also, our other co-host here today, she's no stranger to the BingeWorthy podcast. Catherine, tell them who you are.
Hello, I'm Catherine. I'm an AR/VR person, so yeah.
Awesome.
A whole person.
And we are the BingeWorthy podcast. And the premise of our show is that we will binge watch a television show to let you know if you should. So what we're going to do right now is we are going to have our technical director provide you with our initial ratings. Now, remember, nobody has seen these ratings. We've only our technical director. So this is the first time we're going to find out how everybody rated the show that we're watching tonight, which is HBO's The Last of Us. So Rodney, let us know, how did everybody rate The Last of Us? Is it on the screen yet?
Yeah, it's on the screen.
It is.
I don't see it yet. All right. Oh, okay. All right. So we got some interesting scores here. Okay. All right.
I really thought I was gonna be alone. I thought I was gonna be jumped.
We got a binge worthy. We got a full meal, another full meal, a binge worthy, another binge worthy, and a full meal. So let's see.
And yours.
Yours a mini meal.
Yeah, I get the mini meal.
I can't wait about this.
So we got a 4.5 right now. So that's close. It's almost rounded up to a full meal. So I mean a full binge out. All right. So guys, we're going to talk about this. I want to start off with asking who has played the video game. It's based on a video game. So who's played the video game?
I didn't beat it, but I played it.
But can I get a half credit for watching someone play the video game?
Yeah.
And
Sure, we give you a half credit.
Okay, I would like half credit. Thank you.
So everybody, I haven't played it. I haven't played it at all. So we're gonna start with you, Chuck, as a fan or as somebody who's played the video game. Do you think fans of the video game would be satisfied with this series?
I'm gonna say absolutely not, because it's not exactly like the video game.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the liberties they took was good for storytelling. I'm glad they did it, because they would have made it exactly like the video game. This probably would have been much boring than to watch it being played. I mean, so they put a lot of like the fact they told me Frank and Bill's story, they actually showed it to me. It's better to see Frank and Bill's story than to listen to Bill talk about Frank, than understand what was going on between Frank and Bill.
Okay.
And there's some things I don't like what they did into the TV series, but I understood
Like that the way Tess died.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, the way she died, but she died something similarly in the video game too.
Yeah.
She died by getting bit. So
yes.
Yeah, so I accepted that, but I like Sam and Henry's story. There's other ways they could have done that story, but I understand they had limited visual effects budget, and it showed they had limited visual effects budget in the series.
So Centel, you said you watched it. As a fan or somebody who's played the game, do you think that the series lives up to what the game is?
Well, here's the thing. Like when the first 2 episodes first came out, like Twitter, social media in general, they're like, it's the greatest adaptation ever made. And I can't lie, I was right on there on board watching the very first 2 episodes. And I was like, damn, this really might be the greatest adaptation ever made. But as it gains its momentum and really finds its legs, you realize that may not necessarily be true. There's still, projects like Cyberpunk, which is another one that's based on a video game that's excellent, flawless, damn near. Castlevania was really good. First in Class is Arcane. Nothing's not even remotely close to as good as that. So I guess it's still good. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying this to say that the series wasn't good. It's exceptional. It's a phenomenal show. But if you're going in there thinking that this is the thing that's going to be holding the crown, if you're going in there thinking that you're going to have the same experience as when you played the video game, if you're going in there with a lot of that already built up, you may be a little disappointed. Now, for those people that have never never played the game, most people that I've talked to give it a 10 out of 10. They just absolutely love it. It's mostly the people that have had some time and spent anywhere between the 25 to 30 hours that it takes, the 20 to 25 hours that it takes to beat the game. When you spend that kind of time and then you jump into an 8-hour rendition of it, you can see like the chinks in this armor.
Can I make an acknowledgement from the chat? Mark came in and said, is that a fair comparison, being that those were animations?
And this was live action?
No, it's not a fair comparison. When we're talking about live action, it probably is either number 1 or number 2. But if you're just talking about just adaptations from video games, no, the animation section just blows it away.
Animations aren't exactly adaptations. They're takes on the source materials.
Well, I mean, so is live action.
I mean, so was the live action. Exactly. Like they're all takes on the source material. But
Castlevania didn't take the Castlevania video game story. Arcane didn't even have a story prior to this. You know, they didn't really have. They're based on the video game, but there's no video game story for League of Legends really. There's a bunch of champions fighting each other.
All right.
Well,
So let's talk about this series.
Well, The Witcher is based on a video game.
Yeah.
And it's based
Isn't
on
it?
the book series too.
Yes.
A book series, but it was also a video game. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wasn't
Yeah,
it?
it was a book
Yes.
first,
Yeah.
then video game. Yeah.
Yeah, like I would say the first, what, like 2 seasons of The Witcher, maybe the first 1.5 seasons of The Witcher, definitely the first season was solid. And
Uh-huh.
it's up there with like video game adaptations as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. The first season.
Jump in here. Let's talk about this series. We're going to talk about it in terms of the acting quality, the writing, and the visuals. Courtney, you are an actress. What was your overall thoughts about the acting of this cast assembled for this series?
I thought the acting of the majority of the characters was absolutely stellar. I thought they all embodied their characters. They understood everybody said one understood the mission as far as I'm concerned. And I really feel like for me, the difference between this series and The Walking Dead is the relationships and the emotion that people are willing to share and have for one another. Because Walking Dead is just depressing and dark, whereas this, Joel comes in with a mission, like he's floundering and trying to find his way after this, terrible thing that happened in the pilot, which it was beautifully done. But like, then you get someone, or let me finish that thought. He was wonderful because he had a mission and a purpose, and that connectivity carried all the way through the series. For me, the only person that I thought wasn't necessarily cast with who I would have chosen is not because of what the internet and the media had supposedly had a problem with, was Melanie Linsky's character. And it wasn't because Melanie Linsky, I think, is absolutely beautiful. I think she's a phenomenal actor in the majority of the things that I've ever seen her in. This is the only one that I thought that she kind of dropped the ball, just in the fact that like she wasn't menacing. Like I needed to be afraid of her. I needed to understand and feel that hatred. And it was still very much like she was like the neighbor in 2.5 Men for me. But like, I just, for the most part, everybody else, I thought acting was wonderful.
Okay. Rakai, man, did any actors stand out to you in this series, good or bad?
I would have to say that the overall acting was phenomenal to me. I would say that Bella Ramsey was really, really good. And I know a lot of people had a problem with her character because they didn't feel like she embodied Ellie, but her acting was really, really good. Pedro Pascal is always solid. Besides that, I would say everyone else. I mean, I didn't really have any problems out of anyone. I don't think I didn't see any wooden acting, which a lot of times you'll get characters just sometimes spot on characters or sometimes bit players and people like that their acting is not there. But I don't know. I think everyone was pretty solid in this.
Okay, all right. Catherine, how'd you feel about the overall quality of the actors for this series?
That was solid. Yeah, I agree. Like Bella Ramsey's acting, Pedro Pascal, and like everyone else thought they did a good job and performed. I guess like I didn't get too far in the game, so I got the part where people were shooting at me, and I had the truck, which the show only has 2 characters, and there's multiple characters shooting at you, but that made that look too easy. But yeah, no, I thought it was a solid acting. Job well done. So,
all right, Centel, man. The series, the pilot. What do you think about the pilot and how it established the tone for the rest of the episodes that we saw throughout this series?
Well, first off, I guess we need to understand why the tone is what it is. The producers of this show did a little show called Chernobyl. It is absolute must-see television if you have not seen it. It should have won every award. It is absolutely brilliant. And the thing that makes it brilliant is that it relies on a lot of intensity, because there's just this absolute horrible atrocity is happening with this meltdown. And so there's just every scene is intense, and it's horrible that you're kind of going through this experience. And when you watch The Last of Us and you realize that these are the producers that are putting it on, it makes sense, because it does a very good job of bringing in tension. And the opening sequence of the very first episode did a good job of establishing the world by having this interview with the scientists on like this talk show. And it sets the tone by letting you know that we're about to be in a messed up situation where there is no cure, you know. And talks about the possibility of it. And then, you know, it drops you into the world, which is still one of the greatest opening sequences of a video game, with The Last of Us in the game, when you're kind of like walking through the house on the day of everything going to hell. And it does that like beat for beat. It set the tone with what we were expecting. It set the tone with how close it's going to follow with the game. And it set the tone with how well the characters are going to be established for the rest of the series.
Okay, yeah, I thought it did a great job of setting the tone for what we were going to get. Now, I know at the beginning I gave it a mini meal, which is contrary to what everybody on here gave it to. And the reason that I'm putting my rationale behind it is because, I don't know, I felt like this series felt like a video game to me. And the reason that I say that is because every episode I felt like was a different level that they went to. And every character, something happened to them, and to me it felt like it started to create a theme, and I was just watching it, seeing that something was going to happen to this character, and to me it felt like they were emotionally manipulating me, like they were trying to draw me in, and something was going to happen to like this person or not like this person, and then something was going to happen to them at the end, and I just had a problem connecting to it. Am I the only one that felt like this?
Poor little Tink Tink.
Well, it felt rushed. I mean, that's part of the reason why I gave it a full meal and not a full binge hour, is that I felt like they didn't take their time with certain sequences that I thought really could have connected you. Because I was like, I felt like every episode it almost felt a little anthology-like, because It was like every single episode was a new experience. You know, I didn't really, not that I needed to know the time frame that it took him to travel that distance, but I just felt like they were trying to hit certain marks, and rather than letting it breathe. Because I know, like, one time, like, Chuck, when we were talking, I think it was last week, when you were talking about the Henry and Sam segment and how long you spent with these characters in the game. And this, you only got the tail end is when Henry and Sam came in, and then you got that next episode, and then that was it, you know? So it's like, I would like to have spent more time with them. I understand the pilot. I thought the pilot was phenomenal. I think that there was just enough time to spend with Joel and his daughter in order to get that connection, in order to know who this man is and what he suffered. But at the same time, and Tess, I think we could we have lost Tess in the middle of episode 3? You know what I mean? Like, and I get the raise the stakes. I completely understand this was all about raise the stakes, and they kept raising the stakes. And at this point, I wanted them to kind of like settle down and let me enjoy the relationships, because the time he spent with Tommy, he spent all these episodes, like 5 episodes, looking for Tommy. Then he finds Tommy, and then he's gone. You know what I mean? Like, I felt a lot of it had to do with the speed.
I felt.
Hey, Randy,
huh?
Let me throw something out there.
So we got Rakas and Tail, then Chuck.
I actually hadn't thought about it, but I agree with what Courtney just said. And if I had any knocks, I would have 2 knocks against the series. Wasn't enough for me to back off of BingeWorthy, because I think that this is enjoyable enough, and it was fantastic enough that if you have never played the game, you could come in and enjoy this, and this be one of your favorite series. If you had played the game, it was still well done enough that you'll like it. I think my only 2 knocks are not enough infected, I mean, not that they have to be like everywhere like The Walking Dead. Like that's too much overkill. But I think I would like to have seen them more. They don't have to all be clickers. They could be runners or whatever. We only saw one bloater. That's cool. But a little bit more infected. I understand people are awful, and there were a lot of evil and awful people, but a little bit more.
Yeah, there was too much humanity.
Too much
And-
talking too. Go ahead.
Yeah, and like Courtney said, they could have backed the pace down. Like it really surprises me. At no point was whoever was behind this and who was making this said, you know what, we're going to turn this into a series. Did they not think this was going to be a hit? They had to know that this was going to be a hit. So the fact that they did the entire first game in one season is mind blowing to me. Like, if anything, you said with this limited series, we're gonna split it into two seasons, and then maybe with the game two, with the second game, depending on how maybe we'll do that in 2 or 3 seasons. A 5-season run, both games covered. Hurrah! Going off like The Wire, but they ran through this thing. It was a little. They could have slowed down. They could have took a little bit more time. We didn't have to see them solve a whole bunch of puzzles and climb all over everything or whatever, but they could have slowed it down just a bit.
Jump in there, Cynthia.
Yeah, I think the reason why they made it one season is because of the blowback that the story got, not the gameplay, because the gameplay was phenomenal in book 2, but there was a lot of blowback in the second book for some terrible reasons. People just have a hard time accepting female roles, people in non-traditional roles being leads, sexuality. It touches on a lot of different things, and there's a very big surprise that happens in part 2. So I think if I'm HBO and I'm looking at the blowback, I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna put all my chips in 2 seasons worth of stuff. We'll give you 1 and we'll see how it works. And it worked amazingly. And now season 2 is getting 2 parts.
Yeah.
As a result of it. I think to kind of piggyback off of what Court was saying and also what Kai was saying regarding like pacing, I felt set up in one of these episodes, and it was probably arguably one of the better episodes of the season. That's episode 3. It was the story of Bill and Frank. It was exceptionally done, masterful storytelling, so good. And if you go back to my Twitter, you'll see I'm like, yo, if they did this with Bill and Frank, just imagine what they're going to be able to do with Sam and Henry. Mm-hmm. Now, if you've played the game, Sam and Henry is one of those moments in gaming history where it brought a lot of people to tears. Me being one of them. It was that moving of a story, and I was like, man, they did this with these fictional characters that don't even really exist in the game. They're gonna knock Henry and Sam out the park. Instead, they made it a Karen episode with a character that wasn't a part of the game, that I didn't give a damn about, who didn't even stick the landing in their own character. Are you
talking about the woman, the sister? She wasn't in the game?
She's not in the game.
No, she's not even in the game.
She's a character.
So they gave all that attention to somebody that didn't care, took away time that I would have liked to spend with Sam and Henry, because to me that was a very pivotal moment in gaming history, much less just in television, whatever it was. And even though it was good, it was a good episode. It did not have the same care and satisfaction as when we got a chance to hang out with Bill and Frank. So it was just a little bit disappointing because of the comparison.
I agree. Because Bill and Frank got a whole episode to themselves. Themselves.
I brought this up. I said it would have been better if they had Sam and Henry in the episode, and the original Sam and Henry, where they left Philadelphia. They left Philadelphia with fireflies because Philadelphia fell. And all the fireflies died, and then they met Joel and Ellie in Kansas City. It'd been better if Sam and Henry got to Kansas City first, and old girl's brother approached them, was going to kill them both, and Henry killed her brother, and then
instead you turned him into Benedict Arnold.
Yeah, you turned him. They made him a snitch. First thing I did was call Centil up, and I was angry. 'Cause here's an older brother that would do anything for his little brother. And in the video game, they set it up really well because they met Ellie. They met him in a candy toy store, and Sam picked up a toy. And then his brother looks at him and says, Sam, what did I tell you about that? We don't take anything we can't use. Put it down. And it's hard to tell a little child that, but he tells his brother that we only take what we can use. And Ellie takes it for him and she gives it to him in the bedroom once they escape the zombies and get into the house. And I was like, and then I said they even cut out the argument between him and Joe, because Henry goes like, look, I will kill you and her before I kill my little brother who's turned zombie.
That
would
my
have been
interesting.
I'm alive is to protect him. That's the
They
whole
should-
reason I live. And him and Joe go back and forth about that. And he says, I know, I don't want to be the one to do it. You should be the one to do it. He's like, I really don't want to do it. And he cries. He says, you know, it has to be done. He's no longer himself. Then he kills him. And then he turns around, he puts the gun to himself and just kills himself. And there's no discussion. Nobody's telling him not to do it. And it happens so quick that you just cut the game off. And you're like, wow.
But wait, the hand in Rakai was perfect timing.
Yeah, I thought that dialogue, those
perfect timing,
lines should have been included, right?
Yeah,
if he would have said, I would have done anything but kill my brother.
Yeah, him and Joe go back and forth. And Joe's like, if you don't do it, I'm going to have to do it. And he's like, no, I will kill you and that girl to save my little brother. And he said, that's no longer your little brother. He said, the whole reason I'm still alive is to protect him. And I failed. He said, you didn't fail. You did the best you could. This could always happen to us. You're going to have to do it. And he goes, okay. And he kills his little brother. Then he looks at Joel and Ellie and puts the gun to his head and just shoots himself.
So it happens slower in the book than it did in the
game.
series?
Yes. And it's impactful because you can see that you can feel the emotion in the game. Like
the agony.
He has to do it. And he feels as though he failed.
I didn't get to that part in the game, but I watched the cutscenes of that.
Yeah.
And then not only that, in the game, well, okay, so in the TV show, they meet them, they strike a deal, they kind of sneak around, they find the tunnel, they walk through the tunnel, then they get to the little town, and then they get ambushed.
Yes.
There's not really a lot of time spent with them in the TV show. But in the movie, I mean, in the video game, they went through so much more. Like you played, you spent time with them. They
were really friends.
Yeah, you spent more time with them and their dilemma. Even there's a part in the game where they're trying to get across the bridge, and Henry and Sam, like Joel gets knocked off or something like that, and the people are coming, the militia or whatever are coming. Sam and Henry leave Joel and Ellie. And Joel and Ellie have to go back into the city and figure it out and fight their way out and then cross the bridge, and they catch up with Sam and Henry again. And it's almost like the whole thing about Sam getting bitten is almost kind of like in a game, and almost play like retribution for them leaving Joel and Ellie behind.
Well, you didn't get any of that.
And
you didn't get any of that.
Did it because Henry said, if we would have waited around in Philadelphia, we've been like everybody else.
Yeah. Instead, so like they started giving us all these emotional trigger things that was meant to mean something. I think the discussions that you all are having, I'm not saying it's horrible. I think the things that you are saying makes it resonate, at least more to me, because it builds up a better story. And the pacing isn't so fast, and we get to be with these characters instead of kind of being just like emotionally tricked to me.
Yeah,
I will.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I will say the one aspect that I found absolutely gut-wrenching was because the actor that they cast to play Sam was deaf. First of all, that little actor was fantastic. His little face, like I just wanted to protect. I wanted to jump in the TV and protect that little child. But when he was telling Ellie, he revealed that he was bitten, and he was explaining to her, and she really tried. She was like, no, my blood is healing. That connection between the two of them was very powerful. But for me, it was the morning of, when he was sitting on the bed, and you knew he was just sitting there because clickers are hearing based. So they need to hear you move. And he couldn't hear. So he was changed, but it wasn't until she touched him that he reacted.
Mm-hmm.
And that was because he was deaf. And that's what broke me. I was in that moment between the two of them was so incredibly beautiful. I will say that, but that comes down to the actor and what the actor brought and gave, not necessarily the story that we were left with. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
I get it.
Captain,
So let's jump in here. Go ahead.
Captain, I was going to ask you a question because you saw this in the video game. You didn't play this part, right?
So right after watching this episode, I watched the cutscene because like it kind of actually rubbed me the wrong, like that episode kind of rubbed me the wrong way because like the first episode they race swap the little daughter and she dies. So and in this one I'm like, okay, they die and he's deaf now, which makes it I'm glad that the actor got an opportunity. It was very well acted and everything, but it kind of rubbed me the wrong way because I'm like, okay, they're just gonna kill another person of color. Yeah. It's just like they just die in a horrible way. It's like so like, but it was done well. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way a little bit.
Go ahead, Chuck.
One thing. So I had the pleasure of knowing Neil Druckmann, the game creator, the game director of this series. And I asked him, why didn't you ever make DLC for Sam and Henry? And he said, I never thought about that. He made DLC for Eve when she got bit.
Yeah, I was about to say, they made DLC for Riley.
DLC would have been interesting. These two kids, young black kids, escape a fallen quarantine zone that fell to the Fireflies that had to vacate it because that quarantine zone got taken over by zombies because there's no Fedra. And they actually made it to Kansas City. And they cut a deal with Joel and Ellie to make it to the next Firefly radio station, whatever it's supposed to be.
It's a long ass way from Philly to Kansas City too.
For two kids to make it
long way on a horse.
What is DLC?
Downloadable content.
So it's extra.
Oh, okay.
By the main game, you can buy extra content. And he said he never thought about it. And I thought this had been the perfect time for him to actually tell their story.
The scene that talks about Ellie's relationship with Riley, that was DLC. That was like a bonus that they put into the series.
Oh, so that's not in the original game?
No, it's not.
That's DLC.
DLC. It's DLC.
Okay.
Which to their credit, I thought they did very well. I thought, I may feel some kind of way about, Sam and Henry's story, but they did a good job with that one.
Okay. Yeah. Riley's Marlene's daughter in the game too.
Huh?
Riley is Marlene's daughter in the game.
She is.
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she's the daughter.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah.
So, Captain, let's with you. So, what did you think about the overall look of this series? It's post-apocalyptic, 2023. How did you think they did in bringing that world to fruition?
Pretty good job. Like it color palette wise, visually wise, matched the game experience. For the few zombies that they had, I thought the visual effects was done really well. I think I was looking at the behind the scenes for the stuntman who was the giant bloater and had like this big suit. I thought that was really cool. Also, like I like mushrooms, like eating mushrooms. So I like the I like the
imagery.
Yeah, the imagery is really nice. Like I'm actually not a big zombie person game person, so I think that's also part of why I didn't finish it. Like also starting grad school, but I actually was more interested in this than like when I was trying to watch Walking Dead, which I think I only got through 3 episodes and stuff. But
that's fair.
Yeah, it was just too dry for me. But but I thought it was visually nice. Also music was good. It was done well too. It matches that vibe. The intro sequence kind of matches the vibe of like the game. Yeah.
Okay. Centel, man, I know you love some action sequences.
Yeah.
What do you think about the action sequences for this series?
I'll say this. First, let me start by saying there wasn't enough when you're dealing something based off of a game that has a lot of action in it. Now, based off of what Chuck was saying, that they had some budget restrictions and rendering all of those zombies would have been a pain in the ass. I fully understand them leaning more on storytelling, which leads them to getting those producers that I just talked about because they have a way of just bringing tension without needing special effects for bringing tension, and I think it was brilliant. Now, when they did get some of the action sequences right, my absolute favorite, and it's really small but really well done, is when the car crashes into the storefront when they get into Kansas City, get run off the road, and they crash into the store. I loved the action sequence with the gunplay. Because it felt like when you're in the game, it's a lot more people coming at you, and you have to really think tactically, you know, of how to go about this. And that was one of the first times I had seen in this, outside of the first time when you meet the clicker and they're in the museum and he's kind of like walking around, he's doing the Joel Crouch thing. Outside of that, that's when it felt like a game. I was like, oh man, there's a spot over there. You can get over there. And it also did a really good job of humanizing the opponents, your antagonists. So the action in itself has a story. There's a friend of ours named Jabby Kowe. He's really big into stunts, and he always talks about there has to be story within a stunt, you know, in order for it to be good. And that action sequence had an entire story built into it with a really good payoff. So it was really well thought out and done. And then there's others where you can kind of turn your brain off when the bloater explodes out of the ground and then everybody just comes running and it kind of looks like, you know, 28 days later kind of thing going on. So they had different ways of storytelling through the action. It was limited, very limited, but when it did happen, it really paid off. Oh, and the last big one was during the cannibal scene when they're fighting in the burning cabin.
Yep.
That was really well done. It was good storytelling within the action. It wasn't just mindless shooting and just mindless, I'll get you, you know. It was real thought out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved that sequence because I thought the fire, like watching the fire actually light and go up the curtain and around the building. It really felt like the fire was a character that was a villain in the scene that, you know, it didn't it was interesting to me that it didn't raise any flags for David. Like he was almost like challenging the fire. Like you're not gonna burn me up. I'm gonna get her. You know what I mean? Like it was so it was beautiful. Like that fire scene was really gorgeous.
That didn't surprise me because, you know, at this point he is a cult leader who has chosen and told a few trusted confidants, hey, next person that died, you know what I'm saying, chop them up and get a little Lowry's, spring them on there, and we're gonna serve them up in some goulash or whatever. So he's
I was gonna say they didn't do that because there was a scene when Ellie was in the jail. And I was like, what did she see? Like, it took me a minute. Like, I saw the little thing on the floor underneath it, but I didn't have my glasses on. I was like, I don't get it. How does she just automatically know that he's a cannibal? Let me rewind this. I thought it should be a little more. It was an ear. Yeah. But like, I just, like, you just automatically assume this is a kitchen. And he clearly is making cannibals. I thought that was a leap, honestly. I thought that was a really big
when she met him and the conversation they had about how scarce food was. You know, you see people's ears up under, you know, the main food serving place. You know, you didn't turn into holy moly donut shop. You know what I'm saying? You give me some donuts, hold the flies. Like, health department.
But I don't automatically think Soylent Green.
And Catherine jumping here. I know she's been trying to get in here. Catherine, what were you going to say?
There's a lot of like kind of religious allegories.
That's what I was about to go to. Go ahead.
With the fire sequence, eating of the flesh. Even the big intro shots. They're
between good and evil. It's hell.
I can't remember that guy's name, but he's essentially like kind of playing up like the devil imagery, and that's why there's fire raising and everything. And that when they're saying like, there's some deer left or elk left, it's also kind of code for this human and this human. And I guess even when they were trying to like look for food and hunting Joel and Ellie, like they were hunting for human flesh. So but yeah, lots of religious allegories with that episode. I actually really liked that episode. So when it came to the final episode, I was kind of like let down. It wasn't like the last episode was bad. It just like it ends. All right, it's over. I'm like, but I like the
the final episode felt like it should have been attached to that episode, right?
Yeah.
It was like, and then it was short to begin with on top of it. I was like, even as a shorter episode and it doesn't really fulfill nowhere near as much as the
I like that the voice of Troy or the voice of Joel was in that the cannibal scene. He played Buddy Boy, the original Joel.
Most of the main voice actors were there. Almost all of the
like
central
Marlene.
characters.
Marlene, the actress that played Marlene in the game, played Marlene in the series, as well as Ashley Johnson. I thought that Ashley Johnson scene, the cameo, like her being Ellie's mother, was brilliant.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. I thought that even the casting wise, like she looked like she could have been Bella Ramsey's mother.
Yeah.
Looks just like her. But Chuck, go ahead. You've been trying to jump in here.
Mr. 47 corrected me. Riley is not Marlene's daughter.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
So
She's
yeah.
not, okay. Yeah. But did anybody get to think this? Maybe they like, so when David brings in the elk and puts it down, everybody looks at it, right? Like, oh shit, he actually got an animal. They kind of low-key know they were kind of eating humans, right? They were just, in that state where they just didn't want to come out and actually admit, because all their faces were shocked, was like, oh, he actually got animal food, right?
Oh, maybe I'm not eating daddy. Maybe I'm not eating daddy at his own wake.
Yeah. So
I think when the little girl's like, can we bury him? And then he had that look on his face, and he looked at his partner. He was like, the ground's too cold. We're gonna have to
like the ground's too cold.
Yeah.
Well, like
the kettle all the time.
Like there's
is just right.
Yeah, there's some of them in the group that don't know they're eating humans, but there's a lot of them that do.
I think they do.
Yeah, like even it's kind of interesting with I can't really Devil Man. That's what I'm gonna call him because can't remember his name. But the when they bring out the food, he's eating the largest portion of his daddy's food, just like with no remorse or anything, versus Joel's voice actor, who's kind of slowly eating the meal like, oh, I'm eating a human.
True. Yeah, Buddy Boy was the character in the game. I forget what his name was in the show.
Yeah, I did like the fact that they did bring in like cannibalism and then measuring the nature of good and evil versus that as well, because their leader is evil. But it makes you kind of question, like, are the people evil as well because they've done these horrible deeds? And if you look in, like, the history of the United States, the Puritans, when they first landed here, many of them didn't make it and had a result of cannibalism. During Western expansion, many of those people had to resort to cannibalism. Like the foundation of this country, and a lot of times in desperate times, these people had to do these horrible, atrocious things. But based off of those situations, it's like, are these people bad? Are they evil? It's a horrible, jacked up thing to do, but it does
like Donner Party of 6.
Yeah.
Hey, we just went through a global pandemic and we saw how people were acting. We about a half an hour supply chain.
Yeah.
Get real tricky. All our morality gonna start to be challenged. You know what I'm saying?
Over toilet paper and Lysol.
Exactly. People fight
essential
oils. So imagine
somebody gumming on Uncle Ricky ain't too far off.
I have a question about their cooking methods. They just dumped a bunch of raw meat into that
raw. It didn't look like it was remotely cooked.
No.
So y'all going straight to like lunacy, because cannibalism, when you eat your own, like that causes madness. Like it literally changes the brain chemistry.
Yeah.
And ain't no telling how long they had been doing that.
Then
don't get any context.
Probably since the winter
slant with her, which is like, oh, this is so.
Oh yeah.
He was.
That was just creeperific.
Amazing. You have leadership quality,
David.
He went straight.
Was that in the game too?
Yes.
Yeah, it wasn't. I don't think it was as heavy-handed
as this.
Yeah, but it was in the game.
But the R. Kelly
he put a full R. Kelly press on her, like.
Ugh.
Yo, but I did love that moment Ellie had when she was like, go out there and tell your people I did this to your fingers. I was like, hell yeah, girl.
That's it. But her whole interaction with her is dope, because immediately you start to think, oh, Joel's going to get better and he's going to come in and save the day. No, Ellie held her own for the entire thing. Not only did she hold her own, she prevailed. And I thought that was a cool moment.
Yeah, when they made it to Utah, and he was like, "We're in here just because of me." It was because of her,
right? No, and that's facts.
I would have been dead for her.
It was her big grow up moment, because up until then, like, there's that moment when she's got the gun and they're in the bathroom and she's playing with the gun and she's trying to Dirty Harry it and do all that, because it's still a toy in a sense. It's not real,
Mm-hmm.
you know. But when it really came down to her having to survive on her own, you know, there's that moment, like when she's beating up the devil guy at the very end. I mean, it's almost like frame for frame when Joel was doing that to the guard coming out of episode 1 when they were first leading, and he was just beating the hell out of him. Like those two kind of like merged and became one, because that's what you had to kind of like do in order to survive. It was no longer a game for her at all. Like she was full blown an adult in this world.
That, you saw in the episode with her and Riley, if you think back to her early beginnings, I mean, she was training to do all that with Fedra, you know, and they were going to promote her. So she had the training, you know, but it's until she got on her own, she really never had to flex in that training. And that's why that whole time taking care of Joel was important for us to see. It was kind of like a coming of age episode, because that's when, you know, it's one thing to be trained, but now you're on your own. You have to use that training. Joel's life, your life essentially, is in your hands. You know, what you can do with it.
I wish they had a subtitle for the Riley episode, like saying that this was a flashback, because I was so lost. So I'm like, how did they get from... I didn't get to that point in the game, so I'm like, oh, how did she get
to the
here?
mall?
Yeah, there was no... I was like, I went back to just double check. Did I miss a flashback in time? I'm like, where? I was so lost.
I figured it out. I kind of thought the same thing, but I was like, this is probably a flashback.
One thing that we have to realize too, child rebel soldiers, you start training children to be soldiers, and Ellie was trained as a soldier. And in Africa, what they would do is have them kill one of their loved ones or rape one of the loved ones to get the humanity out of them. And people care to forget she killed Riley.
Well, that was the step.
Yeah, but that was an act of love, essentially.
Exactly. But I'm saying so Joel and Tess thought she couldn't take somebody's life, and they didn't understand she already took a life, and she took the life of a loved one.
Well, her first love.
Her first love, yeah.
Right after the kids.
If I could take that life, I could take almost any life, especially a life I don't know. And that's the whole thing about child rebel soldiers. That's the psychology they put on them. Like, I'm making you invincible now. Nothing, you shouldn't fear anything, because I took something you loved and made it nothing for you.
But it didn't change her into like a hard killer. Like,
no,
that was hard for her, and it messed her up really badly for a while.
It did.
Yeah, she almost needed that. Go ahead, sorry, Chuck.
But she did. She needed that to become the killer she was, because she didn't flinch at all. She never really flinched. When she had to kill somebody or do something, she was down to do it.
I don't know, man.
You also got to remember though, after she killed Riley, that's when Marlene found her and basically locked her up. So she was locked up for like 2 weeks, you know, until, you know, and then that's where we kind of come in watching the story where Joel and Tess and all that, like,
yeah,
you know, right after that happened with Riley, Marlene found her and locked her up because she got bit.
Yeah, and Joel and Tess looked at her as like she probably hasn't felt loved after her and Joe were on this trip together. And Joe hasn't loved anybody since they've been on this trip together.
And Joe didn't start off.
Yeah, that was a part that was a part I didn't really understand, because Marlene said that was her childhood best friend, but yet Marlene hadn't been a part of Ellie's life in this version, and she just kind of dropped her off and left. That's your best friend's baby, and you just gonna ditch her at like the safe haven? Like, I don't know. I didn't think that.
Marlene was shot.
Like at the beginning. I'm talking about the beginning. I'm talking about the baby.
Okay.
I'm talking about baby Ellie. She wasn't injured. She took her, and then she essentially gave her away, because it seemed like Ellie didn't know Marlene.
Yeah.
Didn't get the interpretation.
Because Marlene, based on what she was saying to Riley, like, you're joining the Fireflies? Like, she was so shocked. Like, this was the first time she had ever even heard of like someone, you know, potentially knowing a Firefly. Really, so that says to me that Marlene was not a part of her life.
But based on the circumstances, I think that was the best thing for her. I mean, you know what I'm saying? She's out here with the Fireflies and they doing what they do, being rebels or whatever. What else could she do with her? She dropped her off to get
visit her.
But
I don't know. I can't just walk away.
I think she kept tabs on her. I think she kept tabs on her and always kind of knew what was going on. But that was the best thing for her until she got to a point where she's usable or whatever to, you know, and then she pulls her aside and, hey, I knew your mother and this and that, because now the girl's trained,
No, I agree with you. There's a bit of like the Moses story, right, with the baby going down the river, and she's kind of like that as well. She's going to be like the savior of these people, but due to the circumstances, she just can't be a mother because she is in rebel mode right now, and I doubt there's a wet nurse in the rebel encampment. So the best thing for her at that time is to give her to the enemy as somebody who they don't know who she is or anything else, and then they can actually take care of her. And then once she becomes of age, then the master shall reveal themselves again, and then then the grooming can start. But
okay, so let's talk about it. So what did you guys think about the writing for the show? Courtney, you're a writer. What did you think about the quality of the writing for the show?
I thought certain episodes were overall, I thought the writing was solid. For me, it was just the pacing, and it was just the rushing, and maybe I had flashbacks from Game of Thrones season, whatever that last season was, which is a hot mess, and everything was rushed through. That it just gave me flashbacks of that, even though it was better. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this was in any way that shit show. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that the pacing for me, I guess it lends to what someone said. I don't remember if it was Centel or Chuck who said that they didn't know how much time they were going to have. If they were going to have a second season, so they just bum rushed through the entire game. And I think that was, for me, that was the weakest link. Overall, I thought the writing was like the top half of the season I thought was stronger than the back half. I don't know why that happened. I thought episodes 1, 2, 3, and for the majority, it started to fall off around like Henry and Sam, and then it's just like everything just got rushed. Like it was like a rush to get him to that clinic at the end, and I knew what was coming. Like I knew what was gonna happen, so I was already a little underwhelmed given that choice from the game. But I do think seeing it in live action did help it make it a little bit more palatable, because I think for me, the biggest thing is that everybody took away Ellie's choice. And I thought that they did a good job writing that aspect, because Joel just, sees this as a second chance, an opportunity to love someone. Whereas if Marlene had just maybe let him say goodbye, or even told Ellie what was going on, so Ellie could have talked him off of a ledge. But ultimately, then we wouldn't have season 2. You know what I mean? Or game 2. So I do think that the writing, the way it was crafted, live action wise, did help it make it more palatable. I do still think that everything comes down to pacing, because it's like you start up super high, like, oh, Joel, now we're friends. Like, oh yeah, I love you. I called you baby girl at the end of last episode, and now you my daughter, and now I gotta drop you off.
I definitely agree that the first half of the season was super, super solid. Like the intro was so good. Nico Parker as Sarah was so good.
Yeah.
The second episode, we finally get to see the clickers, the infected, Tessa's sacrifice, and then 3 with Bill and Frank. That's got to be up for Emmy nominations. Like that's got to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We'll say that creepy kiss, though, the writing and changing that from the game, giving Tessa a more power in her exit, in her choice of how she goes out, rather than that creepy like spore kiss.
Yeah,
that was unnecessary.
Weird.
That was like assault.
Yeah,
I didn't need that.
Yeah.
Got to your brain that fast, have they? Lord, just move.
Yeah, I didn't think they should.
Nice.
Yes, I think they should have allowed her to go out the way she did in the game.
Yeah. I heard it was a reference of love, like
yes.
the clickers love, like that was referenced in I think episode.
So she was Me Too'd. So it was his force.
Got love
for love. His force for love. It was like violent zombie Me Too.
It was Donald Trump grab him by the what.
Exactly. I'm gonna give you this spore kiss, baby.
That was a homage to Harvey Weinstein.
Right.
No, right. The fact that you come out and say that was their love says to me you didn't understand Me Too at all.
Yourself.
They wanted to show the.
I'm sure that's what.
Well, I think
say?
Neil Druckmann had said something. I think he went on Twitter to kind of like address it, and he was saying something to the effect of, Well, you're trying to kind of like humanize the spores themselves, and that they're not just these weapons. It's not like this weapon of mass destruction that's just killing for the hell of it.
They're living.
It's a part of nature, and nature is love. And when you're accepted into the fold, the best way that they could express that on film is to have that kiss. And the reason why she didn't run is that she's high on shrooms. She's high out of her gourd.
That what they said?
Yeah, I've never been on shrooms. I don't really know what that experience is like.
Yeah,
but
I've never heard
apparently, I've smoked a whole lot of weed before, and I have been stuck in my spot, just stuck.
See,
so maybe her as she's turning, they're hallucinating. That's what happens to the ants in real life. The real life spores, the ants are not really in their right frame of mind because they're high. Because the fungus is taking over their mind, and that's kind of like what happened to her and why she stayed.
I thought she was just SOL.
No. I thought it was her choice to stay because she was choosing to like let them come to her and focus on her as opposed to chasing Joel and Ellie. I thought she was just trying to buy them time. But this whole like spore mushroom situation takes it to a whole new plane, and I think I could have done without.
I think the only reason that she stayed is because there was a part in, I think, episode 1. I think is when that little kid showed up, and then they show, when they first introduced the new Joel 20 years later, where they said, depending on where an infected bit you, like if it bit you on your lower extremities, then, it might be like 48 hours. If it bit you, your torso area, it could be like 2 to 4 hours. But if it bit you like, neck, shoulder, head somewhere, like 15, 20 minutes, you with them. And didn't she get bit like on the neck?
She got bit on the neck, yeah.
So she knew she's short timing for real. So
yeah, just didn't know when she got bit.
It took him to the whole night, right, to turn.
Yeah.
It was on the lower extremity, and it took him the whole night. Whereas like the neck,
Same with her mother. She got bit in the leg, and she held out.
Yeah, and then Riley got bit on the hand, and it's a few hours until.
Right. Yeah, it's like cordyceps. Cordyceps, their goal is to spread. So that's why in ant colonies and other bug colonies that have a cordyceps, they push them out as far as they can because they know if they get down there, their goal is to, they're high on shrooms, they're high on Molly, and they want to have sex, and they pass it on to everybody, and so they realize they're acting weird. And they push them out and push them as far as they can. And once the spore gets outside somewhere, it gets to the highest point it can get to. And then it kills the insect, feeds off of it until
goes on to the next one.
And goes to the next ones that fall up under it.
Yeah.
So
usually nature, that's what viruses do.
Yeah, I haven't had a mushroom since this show started. Not in a salad, not a mushroom top. I'm just saying, it's like the bread. I understand. It was like the bread, like tainted bread. But can we talk about real quick before we like move all the way on the scene with the woman? Was it in Jakarta?
Yeah,
the woman in Jakarta, the doctor. If somebody don't give that woman an Emmy because she slayed. Like when she was like, I would like to go home and be with my family, because she was like, you need to go ahead and bomb the city. Knowing I live here, knowing my family and all my children live here, bomb the city.
It's that moment.
Chance, but
it's that moment where she doesn't even say anything because when you're watching her process it, it's like a good 10 seconds where nothing is said and she's just thinking, and then she's like, "You got to bomb everything."
Yep,
right.
Like
which is
such
a profound difference between a mother and a scientist to Joel, who is a father. Mm-hmm. This is a woman knowing she's about to tell them to sacrifice this entire city, which is my family. Is here, but we all got to go because we could all be infected. Yeah. Knowing that that's the whole world, which is such a dichotomy of like, this is what a passionate person chose, and this is what the selfish Joel chose.
Yeah,
like fuck the earth. I want to condemn her to stay here with all these like crazy cordyceps.
Well, the selfish Joe felt that way after he talked to Henry. So him and Henry were sitting there, and he was like, this is what happened. My brother had leukemia. He's going to die. And they told me they had a cure for it. And I would have done anything for him. and I'm the bad guy. I'll own that. I'll be the bad guy, whatever it takes. And I brought
Oh yeah, I forgot about that scene.
I brought the rebel leader and I killed him. I can be the bad guy. And he looked at Joe like, can you do that for somebody you love?
And then they cut away. And then Joe was like, okay, it's time to go.
And I think that clicked in Joe's mind, like, I may have to do that for this person because I'm starting to love her like a daughter.
Well, I think the end goal, because Neil Druckmann said this is a story about love, right? And how relationships form and the sacrifices and the tax and toll that love has, right? I think the goal for the creator is for Joel to see Ellie as a daughter. I think that is the ultimate goal, how you end book one. And if that is the case, if he does see her as a full-blown daughter, I'm Team Joel all the way, because I'm damn humanity if it means I have to kill my kid. I'm just telling you up front. I know that's not the right decision. I know this is not the right decision, that I need to kill my child in order for billions of people to live, but I'm not going to make that decision. Yeah. I totally get why Joel made that decision. Yeah, if that is in fact, if he is thinking of her like a daughter, I get that.
Yeah. Hey, if it was mine, all y'all gotta go.
Yeah, I'm like, well, we dying. We
gonna make it. It's over. So tell the person you love them, and it's over.
Yeah.
So this is random, but that pregnancy sequence when the clicker was coming out, I was like, that was a quick pregnancy.
I was like, she just, I guess the clicker stole all her pain. She wasn't paying attention. It was like, this is a baby there. Yeah. I was like, oh shit.
Everything. It could have been worse. Off her stomach.
Ellie was ready from the word go.
It could have been worse.
She damn near came out with a knife. Ellie came out like screaming. Like,
it could have been worse.
Let's go ahead and re-rate this thing. We're gonna start with you this time, Catherine. How are you gonna rate it? How are you gonna re-rate it?
I'm gonna keep it the same. What was it? A full meal?
Full meal?
Yeah.
Okay. Chuck, how you re-rating it?
BingeWorthy, baby. I literally watched the thing in a day. I did it in one day.
Courtney, how you re-rating it?
I'm gonna stay.
Full meal? Okay. Mm-hmm. I'll come up to a full meal. Yeah. Talk me into it. I'll come up to a full meal. Rakai, how you gonna re-rate it?
I'm still at BingeWorthy.
All right. Cool. And Centel, how you gonna re-rate it?
Oh man, nothing moves. It's a full meal. It's good, but it's not perfect.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 26 divided by...
What y'all think of Joe's decision while Randy's getting his answer?
They just gave it.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody got to die. Y'all all got to die.
Everybody.
Like Biggie, somebody got to go.
As a childless man, and that wasn't my child, I'm killing that child, dog.
I hear you, and I ain't saying you're right or wrong.
You can't tell me, this will save billions, but I got to kill your child. Like, I can't just take a pint of blood. I got to cut their brain out and then maybe dissect it and maybe come up with a cure.
Yeah.
I don't know them, but I know my child. So everybody else.
There's too many maybes with that, like the decision. Like they need like more kids or whatever.
And they got to hurt her because it's through the brain, they said. So they've got to go into her
brain. They got to kill her.
Yeah,
they have to go in and harvest the cordyceps because they recognize her as another cordyceps.
On a harvest.
Let's keep in mind, they don't have no way of like mass producing this. They got people eating, hand and fist out here. How you trying to mass produce some vaccine to go around the world, and you over here doing this in some dirty closet?
Yeah, they don't have cars.
I would need more research. I would need more research. I would be like, I need you to give me the team. I need you to tell me what your plan is. I'm gonna need you to come back to me with a plan, and then she and I are gonna talk about, because she's old enough at this point. She's like 14. Mm-hmm. I think that the two of us would have to have a conversation.
I think she would have done it, no problem.
She absolutely would have done it.
Father, I'm not giving her that option.
But here's the thing: she needed that after that scene with David. This is what I was gonna say. She needed something to feel like her life was.
I agree.
Purposeful. Do you know what I mean?
In the video, she starts getting distant with Joe as they get to Utah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Well, she doesn't believe him, right? She's not sure he's telling the truth. I think that's true.
I'm confused. Wait, why did you stop him? Since we've already.
No, because there's other things that lead into book 2. Yeah,
they're in the book 1.
I'm not saying nothing. I'm
Yeah,
just telling
yeah,
Chuck
yeah.
to chill out because I don't want to ruin
Don't ruin
a
it.
great story.
Yeah.
Here's the
Yeah,
thing:
like-
the best thing that they could have done at the end of that season when they had her hooked up to that machine is to go on and gave me a full like a blood transfusion. If she got, you know what I'm saying, like it didn't work in the hotel with Sam, but maybe, you know what I'm saying, we do this like Magic Johnson, you know, go on, give me an oil change and see if I could.
Oh no!
With that being said, got a 4.33, so we're in a solid full meal. Since he's in both.
Thank you.
Give me an oil
Thank
change.
you, Rodney. Thank you, Rodney.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Wow. Yeah, I'm gonna
how you
need
need to
them
close
to
this with
find
that.
me a leukapheresis machine and pull out my blood in this arm and put back what you don't need in the other arm.
Yo, like nobody was shook. Like they went straight to let's kill her. Like it ain't even been a full 24 hours. They're like, let's chop her up. They ain't gonna draw no blood. Y'all was in a research center not too long ago with lab monkeys and rats all over the place. Y'all didn't test that. Marlene knew the formula. Marlene was like, get her pregnant.
The giraffe walking around.
Like you know the formula. You just
Let me
straight to
get
carve out my
right to
baby
that
right now.
immunity.
Right, man. Like I
One
said,
opportunity you have, you're gonna kill it.
I'm with Team Joe. I'm with Team.
Yeah, likewise. Not enough
I
research.
just think they need more research. I need you to
There's
come
no
back to
more
me.
research, Courtney.
Come back to me.
The researcher was in
They don't
Indonesia.
have
on the
gas,
bomb.
Courtney.
Right. He said,
A battery.
Right.
Risk it all for a battery.
I'm surprised no one in like that world has developed an alternate fuel source
That's a good
for
point.
cars.
That's a good point.
Understand this. We're still in the pandemic. How hard is it to get people to take a vaccine that's been researched?
That's a good point. That's even better point. Okay, copy.
all right, so we're at 4.33. That's
These
a
four
full
just
meal.
stand for
So
freedom.
we're at a solid full meal for
People
The Last
actually
of Us.
shooting
Y'all ain't
people
right.
that
That's
point.
right. Nobody would have taken it anyway. Not in
Nope.
America.
No, they would have been like, "Oh, cordyceps
It's
are
gonna
a friend."
turn me into a cordyceps. I'm not
Right.
doing it.
you know,
They're
David's
tracking your
people
phone to
wouldn't
them
have taken-
cordyceps.
David's people wouldn't have taken. They still believe in all these religions. So we know they wouldn't have
They
taken.
pray to the cordyceps.
Right, they'd have prayed to the
This went
cordyceps.
down a whole other rabbit hole, y'all. This went.
All right.
so
I blame
sorry.
Makai.
Michael Magic Johnson stuff just ran
I blame Makai.
all the blood down.
He the one that led all this tomfoolery in the building.
Magic
God,
Johnson
since
that means you can
since
do
you impugning the
Oh,
good
God.
name of Magic Johnson, you got to say before we head out.
Yeah, they probably took some horse dewormer and drink bleach before they take Ellie's cure.
Joe Rogan would have done some of that.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh God. All right, Rakai, you got anything to say before we head out?
Nah, man, this is fun. I like this.
Centel, you got anything to say before we head out?
Yeah, two things. One, welcome to the age of Bella Ramsey, everybody.
Yeah.
This is about to be the beginning of a very potentially long career. I can already kind of see that. And the second thing is anybody else that's trying to do an adaptation from a video game, yo, the bar has been raised. So we got a couple of ones that are kind of like on the cusp that are coming out. We got Alan Wake, Assassin's Creed, Disco Elysium, Fallout, Final Fantasy.
Wait,
God
they
of
got an
War,
Assassin's Creed TV
Horizon,
series?
Yeah.
Mass Effect, Twisted Metal. Like, there's a lot of them that are like
Because
coming
that
around the
Assassin's
corner.
Creed movie didn't do well, and it had
Oh, my God,
ass in
that
it.
wasn't
I
even-
think it-
That wasn't even a movie. I don't know what I watched.
Yeah.
That was a commercial.
Yeah.
So,
it was like a
so
DLC.
I don't know. Halo didn't do very
cinematic.
well.
Halo was trash, and
I didn't
yo,
try.
I'm just saying, get y'all writers together because you've got a standard now. You
Now
have-
and next month is Mario.
yeah,
Mario.
I'm scared.
I am too. I am too.
Mario?
I'm nervous about
Yeah.
Mario because I want it to be good. I do. I want
Jack,
it to be
I
good.
might need to
Go
have
ahead
some
out.
mushrooms before I go see Mario.
Oh man, I
So
don't
when I
know.
see those mushrooms,
Oh, God.
It's a-
Turn into a
Chuck, you got anything to say before we head out?
Oh man, just everybody be good, be safe out there, and let's hope these next adaptations are just as good as this.
Mhm.
Ooh. Courtney, you got anything to say before we head out?
this has been fun. I had a good time being ridiculous. So just continue geeking out and good night.
All right. Catherine, you got anything to say before we head out?
For some reason, The Last of Us made me want to eat mushrooms and meat.
Oh Lord. Definitely getting high.
Mushrooms and meat.
Right.
Captain, don't.
Mystery meat. You don't
No,
want just meat. You want
No,
mystery
no,
meat.
You over there
no.
digging up truffles, kissing them in the mouth. You better chill out.
That's what they done to our bread.
Shout out to Digital Click.
See what they
for
did to our
providing
bread?
all-
Took all the
Huh?
gluten out and put in cordyceps.
Oh Lord. Shouts out to Digital Click
say
for
put
providing
stock in
our
47?
marketing needs. The Geekies Network. We are a network for people of color, right? We have people in front of the camera, behind the camera. Please support us, share us, like us. Support us on all formats. Shouts out to Rodney, our technical director. He does a great job of all our overlays and our transitions and everything. And we're just trying to create fascinating, great content. We've got a great cast here, so please support us. Support all the other shows on the Geekish Network too. Geek Beast, Pod Squadron, and any other shows that are coming back soon. Next week, we are doing Shadow and Bone. Is it Shadow and Bone or is it Bone and
Yeah,
Shadow?
it drops tonight. Shadow and Bone.
Shadow
It
and
drops
Bone.
tonight.
Good, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
second
season 2 dropped
Season
at midnight.
2. So we're doing
Wait,
Shadow and
all
Bone.
of it?
Yeah.
Centel, yeah, all of it.
Netflix.
Yep, Netflix.
That's
Since
I
Yeah,
watched the
part two.
finale. I watched the season finale last night to remind myself what the hell was happening.
I need to recap that first
Me
season.
too.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna watch the recap at part.
Centel and Catherine, this is home. Y'all always welcome to come back. Please join us next week if you want to. With that being said, thank you for tuning in, everybody. We'll talk to you all later. Peace.
Bye.
Bye.
Man, gotta watch Ted Lasso ends.
Ooh.
Oh,
Ted Lasso
Yeah.
was good.
Ted Lasso didn't disappoint.
I love Ted Lasso.